This Adams Board of Selectmen meeting on Wednesday, November 20th, 2019 is now in session. If you could all please join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. First order of business is the approval of minutes of the October 16th, 2019 Selectmen's meeting. What is the board's pleasure? It looks like everyone can vote.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that we waive the reading of the minutes and accept them as written.
I have a motion by Jim
Second.
and a second by John. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? No, that's unanimous. Next on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to the board about an item that is not on the agenda this evening? Going once? No. All right. We will move on. We do have a public hearing scheduled at 7:10 p.m. So we will go down to new business on the agenda and come back at 7:10 p.m. We'll try to wrap up our discussion where we are and get right to that time. So the first item under new business is the ratification of Council on Aging Board Member Barbara Legowski.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. In our packet, we do have a letter from the Town Administrator. Dear Chairman Hoyt, this letter is to recommend the Board of Selectmen appoint Barbara Legowski as a member of the Adams Council on Aging Board of Directors. As provided by Council on Aging Director Girgenti, Ms. Legowski has become an advocate for our local seniors and is a dedicated volunteer to the Senior Center. She would be a valuable asset to the current Council on Aging Board of Directors should the board choose to appoint her to the position. This appointment will fill the final open position on the Board of Directors. Respectfully, J.R. Green, Town Administrator. Jay, do you have anything to add to that?
Barbara's an active volunteer. Of course, Erica's heavily involved with all those, so we welcome Barbara, subject to your ratification to the board, and we appreciate her input and her willingness to serve.
Great.
I make a motion that we ratify Barbara Legowski to the Council on Aging.
Okay, I have a motion by Jim. Second by Joe. Any discussion?
Yeah, I would just like to say, I know Barbara personally and her two parents who are active at the with the Council on Aging. I know that during my time as the Visitor Center Manager, Jeanette, which is Barb's mother, is very active in coming down and volunteering her time. And her husband Frank was also there, and I think Barbara, she's a great choice for this.
Wonderful. Thank you for those comments. It's my understanding that this is an annual appointment to the Council on Aging Board of Directors, so this would be through June of 2020, and she would be up for an annual renewal at that time. Okay. I just want to make sure that's clear.
Madam Chairman, just a point of order. When Chairman Bush made the ratification, he just said Council on Aging. If he could amend it to be directors, add that onto it.
Council of Aging Board of Directors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And you'll second that amendment?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That is unanimous. The next item is an appointment to the Northern Berkshire Solid Waste Management District. Vice Chair Bush has indicated that the alternate seat for the Northern Berkshire Solid Waste Management District is currently vacant, and in order for us to have a consistent voice at the table at those meetings, it would be in our best interest to appoint somebody to that alternate seat. And Vice Chair Bush has said that he would do that, but I will let you speak a little bit more about the district if you'd like, or anything more about this appointment.
Sure. Well, at the present time, I'm liaison to the Solid Waste District. I'm attending all their meetings. And I'm deeply involved with the other towns coming on board, which I'll talk about a little later on. And at the present time, Ed Driscoll has some issues. His girlfriend passed away, and he's not able to attend meetings. And Adams, without me being on there, is not going to have a voice. It's very important that we have a voice in the voting.
With that, Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Selectman James Bush to the Northern Berkshire Solid Waste Management District. I think he's the right choice. He's been very active a long time with them.
Great. Thank you, Joe. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by John. Thank you. Any questions? Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or an abstention?
I abstain.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, Jim, for taking that on. Next on the list is the approval of job description for the wastewater treatment plant operations supervisor. Jay, do you want to walk us through, just knowing that in about 3 minutes, I'm going to cut you off for
That's all.
public hearing.
Thank you. That's all it will take. Sometimes I can be verbose, so that's fine. You're giving me a deadline.
Okay.
This is a position that's been talked about for quite some time over at the wastewater treatment plant. As everybody knows, wastewater comes under the Department of Public Works. The highway, parks and rec, cemetery, building maintenance, and equipment maintenance divisions are all led by Operations Supervisor Tim Coda. So this is a step in order to more align pursuant to the labor agreement, the nature of the operations with wastewater treatment operations. For the most part, Superintendent Rumbold has been essentially running the plant with his other 6 staff members. So this position provides us the opportunity to have another high-level supervisor at the plant. It does not expand the number of staffers at the plant, and the position has already been built into the fiscal 2020 budget that we're in now. So there's no economic impact, nor is there any increase in the number of plant operations. It helps to provide more of a continuity of operations there. So the chain of command would be the operations superintendent, presently held by Mr. Rumbold, followed by the operations supervisor, and then all of the operators beneath that.
Any questions for the town administrator?
Has this been put out yet, or we're going to okay it?
Once this board okays
Okay.
it, then it will probably be put out, probably not immediately, Joe.
Yeah.
But probably sometime after the first of the year.
And as a step D16, what would that come up to as far as a salary?
That is estimated to be approximately $26.52 an hour.
$26.50 an hour.
$26.52.
Okay, so this isn't a salary job, this is,
Unionized hourly.
okay. I have to say that I didn't get any chance, it is my fault to read the description and go over it, so I'll leave it up to the other board members. Should they feel that it's a good job description, I'll certainly okay it.
It did go through the Personnel Subcommittee. I think it's been reviewed twice by the Personnel Subcommittee to date, and this was the next step in the process.
Superintendent Rumbold, Donna Season is her, when she was acting as interim, they both worked on it, and we finalized it a month ago, give or take.
Any other questions?
No, he's going to report directly to Bob?
Correct?
Okay.
He or she?
He or she, excuse me.
That's okay.
Yeah, let's be politically correct.
Okay, please, correct. Thanks for taking the correction. Any action on this by
Just
anybody on the board?
My only last thought is, I have a concern in terms of continuity of operations at the plant as we go. Right now, our gentlemen who run the plant with all the institutional knowledge, we need to make sure that we begin to hire some folks at the more junior stages of the plant that will be able to learn. It's a very detailed operation, and it takes a while to earn the certification. So this is an opportunity really to look at that, how we go and continue to operate as people retire, essentially.
And I just have a quick question for Jay. I know in the past we've talked about the need upgrades for the facility. Has there been anything done in that direction as of yet?
No, not yet. We're operating okay. I think we're going to end up having a pretty in-depth conversation about that, building the fiscal '21 budget. Most of the upgrades that are needed are simply due to the age and wear of the equipment, not necessarily so much the DEP regulations, but we have to look at that. I think there's a process to do it, and I think the good time to do it is when we get a new DPW director hired and get them in on the ground floor and work with myself and Superintendent Rumbold. And I think we're probably going to have to hire an engineering firm to take a look at it comprehensively. And I think from a fiscal standpoint, we're going to have to look at it as phases, year 1, year 2, year 3. That's where we are.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It is 7:10 PM. If you wanted to.
I make a motion that we accept the approval of the job description for wastewater treatment plant operations supervisor.
Okay, I have a motion by Jim.
Second.
Second by John. Any further discussion?
I'm going to vote for it, and I apologize for not finding the time to read it.
I appreciate that. All in favor?
Aye.
And no one opposed? That is unanimous. So if we can, because it is 7:10 PM, if we can jump back up to public hearing on the agenda. I do need a motion to go into the public hearing. It is for 2 items, an application for transfer of wine and malt package store license from J.P. Rose, Inc., 223 Columbia Street in Adams to 7-Eleven of Massachusetts, Inc. at 223 Columbia Street in Adams, as well as a show cause hearing for J.P. Rose Incorporated doing business as 7-Eleven, 223 Columbia Street in Adams regarding the status of wine and malt package store license.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
All in favor for going into the public hearing?
Aye.
And that is unanimous. And it looks like we have representatives here this evening from 7-Eleven. Chad is here with his lawyer. John, you're going to have to remind me of your last name.
It's John Aida. I can introduce myself and Chad as well. So,
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is John Aida, the law firm McDermott, Quilty & Miller, located at 28 State Street in Boston. With me is Chad Dupe. Mr. Dupe is the proposed manager of record. And just briefly, by way of experience, he has over 16 years' experience at this store. He's intimately familiar with that. He's qualified to be the manager of record on this and in charge of the alcohol sales. This is a situation where it's a transfer, and as part of that transfer, it's a change of manager of record. 7-Eleven Corporate, which is 7-Eleven Massachusetts, Inc., is acquiring the store from the former franchisee, J.P. Rose, Inc. So we're in the process of making that turnover. An integral part of that is to make sure that all the paperwork is filed both with the town as well as the ABCC. And in terms of the day-to-day operations, you're not going to see any changes in the day-to-day operations. Obviously, it's a 7-Eleven. Everyone's familiar with that location and the operations. I think everyone probably knows Chad as well. He's been a fixture there for many years. Also in attendance is Michael Palermo. Michael is the field consultant for 7-Eleven. He's in charge of this store, the area store, and some of the other area stores as well. So again, this is a straightforward transfer in terms of this application. You're not going to see any changes in the hours or the day-to-day operations. The staff is remaining on. They have security, and right now they are, they card anyone that appears. I think in their position as anyone 30 or so or under. They're starting to roll out and get a new POS system, which hopefully in the next few months, which will be another step of security in terms of checking IDs, whether it's tobacco product or alcohol product. When that product is scanned, it's going to prompt not only a physical ID check of the person in front of them, they're going to have to input a valid date of birth into the system. So it's another line of defense against sales to underage. They have an excellent track record, and Mr. Tupi is well qualified. So if the board has any questions or comments.
Sure, just, I I'm the lone representative from the licensing subcommittee. My colleague had another commitment this evening, and it was just brought to our attention, probably late summer, that there was a change in staff or a change of manager over at 7-Eleven, which prompted,
Right.
the communication to you. So we've been working with legal counsel on our end to be working with
Right.
you. And I just wanted to
Yep,
state
sure.
that for the entire board to know that this has been in the works for a few months.
It has been,
To get to this point.
And also, if I can just address that just briefly, so 7-Eleven of Massachusetts Inc. is obviously a local corporation, but their parent company is, based in Texas. So as soon as it came to the forefront, they contacted us. We represent them in some other matters as well. So it does take time to get some of these signatures and things processed. In a perfect world, it probably would have happened faster, and we would have been in front of the board faster. If there's any, peace of mind, I think it's the fact that Chad has been here and been at this store and is familiar with that, and I think a lot of the board members knows him as well. So for that, I think it's a smooth transition, and to know that the store is in good hands, so.
Great. With that, I'll open it up for any questions that anyone might have.
I have a few questions.
Sure.
Just, these are curiosity questions. The past owner, J.P. Rose Incorporated, now, was he the owner of the property or just the franchise name?
Just the franchise name, correct. So the property is still owned by 7-Eleven Inc.
Right.
And leased it to Mr. Rose, and now there's an internal lease with 7-Eleven of
Okay,
Massachusetts.
so the lease now is with 7-Eleven?
Correct, and that paperwork is submitted as well.
Yeah, I was able to
Great,
take a look
great.
at it, although it's quite complicated for me. And I'd also like to say that I know personally that Chad is a hardworking guy. I see him down there all time, all hours of the day, and holding down the fort. So I feel very confident in his ability to be the manager of the 7-Eleven.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Any other questions?
No, I agree with Joe in regards to, I'm glad to see Chad here. I was wondering if he was the gentleman, which is good. 7-Eleven has taken over the lease. Is there, you talked about security improvements. Are there any other anticipated improvements to the store itself? Just curious questions again at this time. Or?
I may turn that over to Michael in terms of some of the improvements.
So honestly, that's
Michael, if you could come forward. We have a television audience at home that needs to hear you on the mic.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. So
Thank you.
honestly, nothing at 7-Eleven happens quickly.
State his name for the record.
If you could
My name is Michael Palermo. I work for 7-Eleven Corporation. I'm Chad's boss. But no, 7-Eleven, everything that we put in at the end of the year, so I've put in cases to get the outside of the building fixed. Like if you actually look at the outside of the building, there's some maintenance issues. I'm sure these things will get addressed, but typically the company has a hierarchy in which they're willing to spend money on certain stores that maybe make more money. There's a whole complicated process they go through that they won't dictate to us. So do I think there could be some changes, interior, maybe the ceilings of the building when we come in? Yes, but all these stores, it is a process and it does take time. So I wouldn't guarantee anything, but I would definitely say 7-Eleven is doing a good job trying to improve all of their older stores. Obviously, image is very important, so.
And a question also, now, do you oversee New England or just Massachusetts or Western Mass?
Good question. So I oversee, I have about a little under 10 stores, but I oversee all of Vermont, Adams is obviously Mass, and I have one in New Hampshire, Keene, New Hampshire. I actually live in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
I drive about 7 hours a day, so this territory, it's challenging, but honestly, I work with good people, and Chad's one of them.
Because I noticed in my travels, I don't travel extensively, but I don't see too many 7-Eleven stores.
Not within 50 miles.
Not around here. If you go, if
Where
you
are they more prevalent?
Boston.
Geographical areas?
go to Boston, you'll see, you could see 40 in Boston.
They're on every other corner of
Yeah,
Boston.
okay.
Yeah, Connecticut, we have 70 stores, 75 stores. Rhode Island, we got about 25.
So in short, this is a national chain if you're investing your time with their headquarters in Texas?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have a follow-up?
Also, thank you.
Okay. Anything from legal counsel?
No, everything appears to be in order to me.
Okay. As we are still in a public hearing, if there's anybody here in the audience who wishes to speak to this matter, I open up the floor. Okay. If there's nothing else for the hearing, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
And I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on closing the public hearing? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Sounds unanimous. So I do need some action here from the board for an approval of the application for transfer of the wine and malt package store from J.P. Rose, Inc. to 7-Eleven of Massachusetts, Inc. at the same address at 223 Columbia Street in Adams. I believe that is the action. Okay. Thank you.
I make a motion that we accept the application for transfer of wine and malt package store license from J.P. Rose, Inc. at 223 Columbia Street to 7-Eleven of Massachusetts, Incorporated at 223 Columbia Street in Adams.
Okay, I have a motion by Jim. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
A second by Joe. Any discussion, questions?
When does this take effect?
This,
It still requires approval from the state. They will tell you it averages 4 to 6 weeks, plus the holidays. So we'll hopefully by year end.
Okay.
So now that
So
we,
they'll notify the board if and when that's approved. And I think you get notification, same time we get notification. They do everything by email now. And then at that point, you know, I'm sure Mr. Dupuy will come down and pick up the license that would now show his name as the manager of record and 7-Eleven's name.
okay, just then one quick question, is Chad safe running it now, although he doesn't have that license in hand? Is it safe still under the J.P. Rose
It is.
Incorporated?
So he's, actually Jim Rose is his brother-in-law, right? So Jim's still involved somewhat. He's still, obviously, he's been able to get us documents and things that he needs. He is still an employee and can operate that. So in terms of that, we're trying to make it as seamless as possible until it gets approved.
So any liability will still be covered? Should
It's still
some-
coverage. We have all the insurance policies and
Okay.
things like that.
All right.
Absolutely. There's no gap in that. All the employees wanted to keep it as, you know, seamless as possible to make sure that there was no gap or, you know, telling employees they couldn't work, things like that. So,
Okay, thank you.
sure.
any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That is unanimous. I want to thank Attorney Aida, Chad, for being here, for skipping a night at 7-Eleven to be with us. And Michael, thank you very much for being here this evening.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
So we will head back to new business. Under new business is the item of free parking for the holiday season. This is an annual item that comes before the Board of Selectmen in the month of November, typically waiving parking fees if the board so would choose to do so for the holiday season. So it's on there for any discussion by the board.
Jay, what are the dates for this?
I was going to ask the same question.
The day after Thanksgiving through January 1st or something?
That's very reasonable, or through January 2nd, day afternoon, that's
Yeah,
fine.
it's typically,
So that would be 11,
11 is at 28,
Yeah, that sounds right.
which is Thanksgiving,
Okay.
right?
yes, so
2/2.
11/29 through 1/2/20.
That's weird to write.
So that's the day after Thanksgiving is a Friday. Who will be putting the free parking signs over the meters? I think we've had trouble in the past. Is
So, Jay, the,
that going to be you, Jay?
no, it's not going to be you. I'm not answering saying it's going to be Jay out there. But DPW, the last 2 years, had bags that were reusable. that were placed on the outside of the, or they covered the meters.
Okay.
And they had like a wreath or a bow or something on, like that was the picture. So they should be in storage.
No problem. The other thing we can do is we can come earlier in terms of a start date a little bit before. You know, you can make that effective, say, next Tuesday or next Wednesday, and that way their DPW will be able to do that on regular work hours if need be, so there's no confusion. I mean, we can certainly toll enforcement, but that doesn't stop somebody from walking up and putting in a couple of quarters, even though there won't be any enforcement. So we can do that too.
So 11/27
Otherwise, they probably would not get to it until the following Monday.
until December 2nd.
So is that Wednesday?
January 2nd.
Yeah, so we could do, what's that gonna
No,
be, the
start.
27th?
Okay.
Wednesday, the 27th?
11/27. Yep. Unless community development was storing the bags for DPW, but those were the two departments that worked on that the last 2 years.
Okay.
My apologies for not telling you sooner.
That's okay.
Okay.
We'll get into it.
So I make a motion that we have free parking for the holiday season from November 27th to January 2nd, 2020.
I have a motion by Jim,
Second?
second by John. Any discussion? I just did want to point out that the animal control officer / parking attendant position has been posted. There are applicants, and those interviews are taking place, and the parking attendant / animal control officer position would be in place, I would assume, when the free parking would end, which would be a nice time for that to all continue. So that seems to be a nice time frame as well.
We also will have, at some point, to discuss our parking policy in terms of the visitor center parking lot. We have the new kiosks out there. I know that some work has been done on that. I think we'll just have to firm that up and we can roll that out. I think the timing will be good with a full-time parking control officer as well as that comprehensive policy. And I've had time now to kind of get a good sense of who uses that parking lot, speak with some of our residents, speak with some of the department heads that are familiar with it, et cetera. So we'll be good to go at some point, I think, with a workshop probably after first of the year.
Great.
During the winter months.
Excellent. All right. If there's no other discussion on that, I do have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that is unanimous. So we'll move to department reports. Jay?
Thank you. As we all know, Thanksgiving is next week. Time flies. Town Hall will be closing at 12:30 p.m. on Wednesday, November 27th. Most offices will be open in the morning hours for any last-minute municipal business. Shifting conversation to DPW, winter is now here. It's creeping up early. Most of the fleet has been converted for winter operation. That involves the sander bodies and the plows. We had one crew on duty, I believe, Tuesday morning in the early hours, just in case with the weather forecast. We weren't sure if it was going to be sub-freezing or not, so we have had one deployment with no issue so far. The issues with Howland Ave have already popped up. We've had a couple of reports of a few potholes on Howland Avenue. However, I think our constituents watching at home should know that that roadway is very difficult to maintain. It is a heavily traveled with heavy vehicle road surface, and it is high speed, and it's dangerous for our DPW employees to be out there trying to address those problems. Nonetheless, we do our best to do it. However, at the same time, we are having a conversation with Mass Highway in terms of the maintenance obligation and any opportunities that we have to be able to resurface that road. So I think at this point, it's important for the public to know that we hear you. We understand the condition of that roadway. It is not an easy nor inexpensive potential fix, but we are having good conversations with our state rep as well as Mass Highway about the condition of that roadway. So keep your fingers crossed for something down the road. Also, in terms of streets, there's been a retaining wall at approximately 8 to 10 Melrose Street that's privately owned. Over the last few years, it's seen some deterioration, but the homeowner has been able to hire a contractor to address that retaining wall. But as a result of the scope of that work, the street just has to be temporarily closed to through traffic. So if anyone does travel that area, just as a public safety notice, there'll be sawhorses up. Just try to avoid that area, as the contractor does have to work in the public way to repair the wall. So that's why there'll be sawhorses up there. All public safety agencies have been notified of that work and restriction. We had a meeting on Friday with Mass DOT Highway Division regarding the anticipated rail trail work scheduled for next year. That work, as of now, is anticipated to be in 2 phases. Phase 1 is anticipated to begin at Church Street to our neighbors to the south in Cheshire, and go all the way south down to the Lanesboro Pittsfield town line. Phase 2 is going to come from Church Street north into our jurisdiction and end at the visitor center. That work, as of now, is anticipated to take place in July of calendar year 2020 and be completed in October of 2020. That may very well change, but as of right now, that is what the contractor, I should say what Mass DOT anticipates. The contract has been awarded to Maximilian, general contractor. We anticipate a scheduling meeting sometime in December, and I hope to have more information at that time for the reality of what our section of the bike trail will be closed off. So it's a moving target, but that's the information I have now. At the end of the day, for all of our trail users, I think will be quite happy. It's full surface, it's mill and fill. So the surface is going to be milled, it's going to have new asphalt, all the drainage, a lot of the wooden rail fence will be replaced as needed. And I hear that some sections down in Cheshire have a lot of pitting, a lot of ruts. So they're going to address it. This is the original surface installed circa 2099. So we understand it's an inconvenience. We understand the economic impact as well, but we're going to do our best to mitigate that with the State Highway and DCR. The section north of Hoosick Street, going along the railroad tracks, the tourist railroad tracks, and up over to Lime Street will remain open. That will not have any work at all. So that's the latest I have on the rail trail project. We'll keep everybody informed about that.
So Jay, half the trail is still going to be accessible?
Yes.
While we're doing this? Well,
Yes, in
that's
fact,
good news for a lot of
the
people.
language in the contract is they cannot close off both sections at either time. So
Great.
we'll have to go down to the Church Street and use the section south, or we'll have to go to Church Street and use the section north, and our section will remain open. Let's see, DPW director interviews will take place with the Board of Selectmen next Tuesday. That'll begin, there'll be I'm pleased to actually announce that we have 3 qualified candidates for the position, and our town charter requires the Board of Selectmen to make that final decision, so we'll be advancing the 3 candidates to you for a final interview on Tuesday evening. And the last piece I have is our transfer station, just some quick notes. Eventually, there'll be some graphics to go along with this, but we've talked a little bit about the transfer station, but I feel it's important just to let the public know that this year, as of right now, we've sold approximately 606 transfer station use permits. And if you include the bag tags that have gone along with that, we've earned approximately $30,000 that funds our transfer station. So even though the transfer station may not necessarily make money, and I can't affirmatively say it's revenue neutral, it's awfully close. And that has been an increase of just shy of $10,000 from the previous fiscal year. So I'd like to thank our transfer station staff and the public for their cooperation with it. But I just felt that was some good data that I learned this week, taking a routine look at it from the first quarter, and wanted to report that out. So I'd like to thank everybody for their cooperation with trying to re-educate everybody on the permit requirements for our transfer station. And of course, as everybody knows, Northern Berkshire Solid Waste Management District is always trying to expand the offerings with it. So thank you to everybody for that. That is all I have for this evening.
Any questions for the town administrator?
Yeah, I have a list of them, but I just probably would need short answers. As far as the landfill, I'd like to maybe ask Selectman Bush. Linda Sarnik had spoken to me one time about possibly getting some grants through the solid waste district that could be used for the town of Adams. Has there been any news about that?
I don't remember the exact figures on it. We did receive a grant. We're actually one of the higher ones as far as grants are concerned. I don't have the paperwork,
Okay.
so I can't.
I
Yeah.
think it's 4,200.
Something, yes,
Yeah.
something in that area. It was a substantial grant. Like Jay said, our landfills, or transfer station is doing very well
Yeah.
up there. And of course, the better the transfer station does, the higher the grants we're gonna get. So-
Yeah, see, my thought was, I wasn't sure how much money we're gonna get, but we're not really working at full capacity because we don't have three-phase electricity. So that compactor isn't compacting as much as it should be. Is that true?
That's true, Joe. When I found out that we did get the grant, I did question Linda if that could go towards electrical and lighting, and it can.
Okay.
So that's a plus on that.
We've had conversations with
Yes.
National Grid about running the three-phase in there. We also lease the compactor as well. It's about
Right.
$500 a month.
Right,
So we
yeah.
have to do a cost-benefit analysis when that contract is up, which I think was a 5-year contract. I want to say we're in year 2
Yeah.
of that.
And have we changed over, I know that TAM, are we still working with TAM?
No.
No?
TAM is bought out by Casella.
Yeah, right, that's what I was wondering.
I'll touch on that a little further.
Okay,
in-
all right,
into
then
the email.
I'll just continue. I noticed, I didn't know anything about it, but I read it in the paper under legal notices that there was an environmental impact statement sent to DEP about the Curtis paper mill.
EPA is doing work there that is solely funded by EPA and EPA alone. The nature of it is some type of remediation, mostly inside the building, to my knowledge. Donna has been in touch with EPA and is aware of the scope of it. Also, the smokestack was remediated as well, controlled as well. They've been in touch with Mr. Garner for any relevant permits, and I just touched base, in fact, with town council tonight, just to be sure that my understanding of that was correct. But that's my knowledge of it, Joe.
How did EPA get involved with it? Who brought it to EPA's attention to take a look at it, do you know?
Donna can answer that for sure,
Okay.
because it started a while ago, but I want to say it has to do with the Berkshire's Brownfields remediation program.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah, that would make sense. My next quick question is, now that property tax season is over, did you have any news from Kelly about how our taxes came in percentage-wise, people that have paid and people that have been delinquent?
Not enough that I feel comfortable affirmative. I know she has, but it wasn't very fast passing.
Okay. And you went over this quickly. What is the status of, is anybody collecting money from our parking meters in
Yes.
a consistent manner? Because I've seen people on the street trying to put coins in, and either it's full or it's jammed or something. I've seen like 3 people, and
Police do it.
Yeah, and so I said to him, I'll vouch for you if you get a ticket, because they couldn't get them in, and, you
They
know.
jam very easily. That's
Or
one
they
of the
were full,
problems.
so I was just kind of wondering, and that was going to bring me forth to the question you did just answer. I wasn't aware that the job description for the meter person, because that was allocated, not the last town meeting, the one before, so that allocation still stands
Oh, yes.
properly?
Yes.
Okay,
One of the delays, Joe, so you know, so everybody knows, one of the delays in hiring has been an internal discussion that we've had as to where the combined position should report to, whether it should remain with police or if it would be a better function under inspectional services. And also, the police chief did not want to participate in the interviews due to a potential conflict. He knows one of the applicants, so that's kind of delayed it as well. But it gave us an opportunity to take a step back and say, are we going to utilize this in the best way? But we're through that. We had a good conversation with the chief, so we're going to move forward with the interviews. The candidates, we have, I think, 3 candidates to interview.
and I had a call from a constituent on when are things going to take place to reconstruct Corrado Street? Is there any firm date for that? I think that's been on our radar screen for a number of years.
Yeah, there's a variety of work going on in Corrado Street. One of them is some of the floodway remediation work that has to be done. The next step that has to be done, and the issues that we had with the forest warden's truck delayed this, but the DPW is due to go out with the forest warden's truck in order to use their high-pressure system to blow out some of the stormwater drainage over there. In terms of the surfacing work, that's done under a complete streets program, and that was a function of the Community Development Department just being overwhelmed and not able to get it out to bid this year. but I believe that work is scheduled for next spring into summer.
Yeah, I would hope so, because the person that told me lives on that street and said, I've heard this for over like 3 years, that it was going to be taken care of, and I didn't have an answer for him, so I just wanted to make sure now that I'll be able to better serve his concerns.
Yes, one of the things, Joe, when people say that, and I've had a few conversations, I've had a conversation with one of the residents there too, a lot of the road construction work or even maintenance work that normally would live with DPW got shifted to community development. And they are doing, Donna in particular is doing a hell of a job trying to get these things through, but you know, we've been slowed down our ability for progress without having a DPW director. So I'm hopeful that we get a reasonable hire, get the person up to speed, and you know, day-to-day operations are being covered. I have no concerns about day-to-day operations. It's the larger project management and getting things done like that for constituents that have been very patient. That is my top goal.
Okay, and just yes or no, did you get any report back from DOT about the condition of our bridges?
Condition of the
Cook Street?
Cook Street Bridge. Yes, it is safe.
Okay, good.
I can give you more details after.
Okay, and lastly, I read today in the paper that the Housatonic Railroad is being refurbished. Now, is that the railroad, I believe that it is, that the scenic train in South County ran on?
Used to run on, yes.
So that is, will that bring that scenic railroad back into existence once it's finished?
To my knowledge, there is no conversation or discussion among any of those parties at all to restore operation. I know, sitting on the board of directors, it's the museum's intent eventually to try to do that, and I think Rep. Pignatelli would like that.
Yeah.
But that should not have any impact on the operations up here. And in fact, the Railway Museum is trying to move 2 of their traditional passenger cars from Lenox, from that area, up here to run a conventional train.
Yeah, because I'd made mention at one of our meetings, we've invested a lot of money for the scenic railroad, and a divergence of another railroad scenic ride may be somewhat detrimental, although I've been told by you, and you are the expert on it, that we might have a different people coming from different areas, and
Yes.
but it kind of bothers me a little bit, because I hope it doesn't do anything to diminish our scenic rail.
It shouldn't. We're told by One Berkshire that the One Berkshire folks, that the market for northern Berkshire, for the folks that would ride this train, is separate from South County.
Okay.
I can also tell you that the amount of time that, speaking from a personal basis, that I put into this project as a private citizen, as a member of Berkshire Scenic, long before this opportunity came up, means a lot to me.
Yeah.
And I'm still sitting on that board. I'm not president anymore, but I still sit on that board. Also, too, in terms of Adams Station, I know I've had a lot of constituents have asked about Adams Station. I know that in light of the commitment that the town made, the state made, et cetera, to invest into that, I know that Berkshire Scenic is interested in investing some of their own funds into helping the town complete the interior of that building. So I think it's safe to say that the Berkshire Scenic is here.
Okay, and just quickly, last question. I have seen a lot of activity down at the railroad station. Can you give me and perhaps the public what's been going on in there? Because I've seen,
Sure.
Numerous, vendors and contractors in and out of there, and I don't
Sure.
know what has been going on.
The original MassWorks grant that the town was awarded several years ago, that paid for the rail line extension, the platform as well. There was sufficient funds left for the town to apply to the interior of the building to complete the restrooms. So the work that you see was the sewer line reinstallation, the water line
saw that, yeah.
reinstallation, pouring concrete, and design work to complete the bathroom. So the activity that you see is the restroom construction work going on.
And that has been covered by the original grant. We haven't had to
Correct.
take any money out of the town's coffer toward it?
That is a
Okay.
correct statement.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
That's it. That was
Anyone else?
enough.
That was a long list, Joe. Anyone else have any questions for Jay on anything that he's talked about or anything he hasn't covered? Okay. Then, town council, if you would like to give your report.
you. Since my last report, I researched and answered a question concerning the application of special municipal employee status to a member of the Northern Berkshire Vocational School Committee. I investigated a question concerning the town's liability for damage caused by a tree to a building located on private property. I reviewed a question regarding a potential use of property which could violate our zoning bylaws. I met with a member of another municipal board regarding an open meeting law issue. I wrote and filed a motion for summary judgment in a housing court matter. I wrote to the attorney for 7-Eleven, who is here tonight, regarding 7-Eleven's licensing issues and its appearance tonight before this board. And lastly, I wrote a brief in a case that's currently on appeal before the Massachusetts Appeals Court.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for town council?
Yeah, just one
Sure, Joe.
question, maybe Jay, you can help me out with this. When that tree cracked during the heavy winds and damaged the mill complex, was that determined whether that was a town tree?
No, it was determined to be private property.
Okay,
We looked at as many maps as we could, going back to Berkshire Cotton days. We made the best assessment, town council was notified, and we informed them that it was the town's position that it was on private property unless otherwise proven.
so are they going to do any contesting of that? Do you know?
Not that I've been made aware of.
Okay,
I haven't heard anything either.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions for town council? Okay. Subcommittee and liaison reports. Joe, do you want me to start on this side, or do you want me to start on this?
Yeah, I need to take a drink. I talk too much.
I will start to my left. John, do you have any subcommittee or liaison reports?
I have nothing.
Jim?
November 14th, I attended a retirement board meeting. They accepted Al Mendel's letter of resignation and appointed Mary Beverly chairman. There's a discussion of reorganization. Same day, Erica Girgenti, Jay Green, and I met with John Tynan of Savoy to discuss the possibility of joint services of the COA. We want to try to extend it throughout the county. We're working diligently at this. That evening, I attended Northern Berkshire Solid Waste District meeting, discussed the possibility of North Adams and Dalton becoming members of the district. North Adams is moving forward nicely. I attended a meeting with the Dalton town administrator a while back, and he said that they would possibly be interested. On November 18th, Linda Saranac, Veronique Blanchard, who's with the DEP, Mike Canales, and I had a teleconference with Kessler Consulting Incorporated to discuss a contract with Casella. Kessler is out of Florida, and they do biddings for us. North Adams agreed to put $5,000 forward, and the district is going to put $5,000 in for them to do the bidding for us, because their strength, they're a good corporation, and we really need somebody to look into doing it for us. Let's see, we had a second meeting that day with for banners for fallen vets. Jay Green was in attendance on that one. Things are moving forward nicely with that, and I did get some good information from Verizon that they're not going to charge us to put the banners on their poles. We just have to sign a letter of agreement stating that we're not going to do advertising on them. Let's see, Linda Saranac, Veronique Blanchard, and I attended the Dalton Selectmen's meeting to discuss the possibility of them joining the Northern Berkshire Solid Waste District. The meeting went well. They will be letting us know their decision before Christmas. It's important before Christmas because the contract for Northern Berkshire Solid District expires on January 1. So we want, this has all got to be in place before, or we're going to have to wait another year. And on the 20th, today I attended Northern Berkshire Community Coalition meet and greet at the Daily Grind. We discussed current situations in town. We wait for people to come and talk with us. Nobody showed up, but it's there. The next meeting and greet is going to be on December 18th, 12 to 1 o'clock at the Daily Grind. If you have concerns what's going on in the area, please attend, because it's important. The coalition does all Northern Berkshire. It's not just Adams, North Adams. It's an important part of our community. It's really important. People Instead of going on Facebook complaining about it, come to us and talk to us about it. That's all I have. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Jim, I want to thank you for all your time and effort you're putting in. I know having, it takes time, so thanks for your work.
Thank you, Joe.
Also, the only thing I have to report is, once again, on the Adams Suffragette Centennial Celebration Committee. We sponsored one of our first events. It was a historical women's trivia night at the Basswater Grill. I feel it was quite successful. We had a good crowd. We had a lot of camaraderie. Our town administrator and his wife were present, and I think he can vouch to what I'm saying, that it was well-attended and everybody had a great time.
We did, and I just want to say that the town administrator of Cheshire and the town administrator of Adams was on the same team, and our team came in second.
Wow.
Just want to make that statement, and those were some really hard questions.
Yeah, they were.
Who came in first?
We're not discussing who came in first.
Okay.
I knew who they were, but I won't say anything.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe it was our town council. That's why I thought I would bring that.
I was working it.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was,
I wrote some of the questions.
I wrote some of them too. He was a good timer though. You've got a career, Ed, after retirement with like Wheel of Fortune or something.
There's some skills somewhere.
Yeah, right.
No, it was well, Joe's absolutely correct. We had a good time. It was well done.
And also, we're still continuing our trudge forward for next year's celebration. We've got together a parade committee which is ongoing, and we're really working hard at it. And as anybody knows that's putting on any type of celebration, the more people that are willing to help out, the more successful and easier it is to undertake the project. And today also, and I asked Ed earlier before the meeting, there was a meeting with today with the sculptor Brian Hanlon on the progress of the Susan B. Anthony statue, along with her last name escapes me, Brandy from Ty and Bond, going over the town common and to invest time and look what could be, how things should be done. And I wasn't able to attend because I have obligations, substitute teaching over at the elementary school. And I asked Ed if he would be willing to just give a short recap of how the meeting went, since, of course, his wife Pam is our chairman, and Ed has to go when the chairman says you go. So could you come forward and just say a few words on it, because you were there? Yeah, if you don't mind, Ed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, several members of the committee met with Brian Hanlon, who's the sculptor, and he came up from New Jersey with his attorney, Dave Schlendorf. Not because there was any potential litigation. Dave accompanies Brian when Brian comes up here. They're really a very personable couple of guys. But anyways, they met with Brandy Nelson, who's the architect the town has hired to perform the renovation work at the Common, as well as Becky Ferguson from the town's Community Development Department. And basically, the discussion between Brian and Brandy and Rebecca concerned how the statue was going to be located in the park, and some of really the technical work that's involved with respect to like the installation of the statue, how it was going to fit within the park. I believe it was Brandy had brought a rendering of what the park may look like, or sketched out in terms of where various features on the park are going to be located, including where the statue was going to be located, and showed, for example, benches where people might be able to sit and use the space that surrounds the statue as a place of reflection. There was discussion in terms of some of the details with regard to things like, for example, Susan B. Anthony's quotes that are famous. The committee had come up with a list that prioritized the quotes, and there was discussion about how it could be, how the quotes could be, for example, engraved into the granite and things that Mr. Hanlon said could be accommodated within, the contract that he had signed to perform the work. So it's, from my standpoint, it's very exciting to hear these things. Mr. Hanlon brought up renderings of the completed clay figurines, and I shouldn't call them figurines. I mean, the statue of Susan B. Anthony is huge, and there's another one of her as a 6-year-old child. At the time, she was in Adams from her birth up to age 6, so they're going to be integrated together in a very beautiful monument, if you will. So that was primarily, I think, the discussion in a nutshell.
Thanks, Ed.
I have one subcommittee update. It's just from the licensing subcommittee. Just a reminder that all of the renewal paperwork is due to the town administrator's office by the end of the day tomorrow, so that's by 5 p.m. tomorrow. That would allow us enough time to make sure that that paperwork is in order before our December 4th meeting, when we would look at all of the license renewals. So Deb is busy putting all of that together, and I think I speak for Rick when I say thank you on behalf of the licensing subcommittee for the work that you do. Announcements in good of the order. We'll start to my left again.
I'm good.
Jim.
I'm all set.
Joe.
I'd just like to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving, as we know, is family-orientated, and tell your family that you love them, because you never know what's next for you. So wish everybody a very nice Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Joe. I have just a couple of announcements. One, I wanted to thank the DPW for how beautiful Park Street looks. It was nice to drive into town on Sunday night and see all of the lights on, and I saw them busy doing that last week. It looks lovely. And it got us ready for Holidays, which is on Sunday, this coming Sunday, the tree lighting. I believe that the event itself starts at 2 p.m., but the tree lighting is around 4:30 p.m. at the Town Common, and if you're able to attend, it's always a wonderful event, and we thank the folks at Adams Community Bank for all of their work putting that together. And in the spirit of Thanksgiving and being grateful, I just wanted to share with this board and that I was traveling over the weekend in New Jersey, ran into an old college friend who told me that she had a friend, so nobody that I'm connected to, that was driving through the town of Adams and had an unfortunate meeting with a deer in our community, and totaled her car. But the grateful part of this story is that she was fine, but she couldn't say enough about the emergency personnel in this community. So here was a woman who's not from our community who happened to be driving through and had a horrible accident, and she said that she was met with some wonderful people from our police department, the fire department, as well as paramedics, and said she couldn't have found a nicer group of people to help her through that situation. So it's just a reminder to thank our emergency personnel when you can, for all the great work that they do, even when they don't know the folks here in town, or especially. So with that, I just wanted to also mention that there is a change in our schedule next week. We will not have a regularly scheduled workshop on Wednesday evening because we will be meeting on Tuesday night to conduct the interviews of 3 candidates for DPW director. So that will be in lieu of a Wednesday night workshop.
And I just have one question because you brought it up. Sure. I think the tree looks great. Who donated the tree? Do you know?
John Bird
John Bird?
on East Road.
East Road, yep.
Yep.
Tree looks nice.
Yep. Yeah, we didn't have to
Thank
go
John.
looking
Yeah.
this year. They had one ready, so that was great.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that needs to come before the board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
I have one by Jim. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.